Hello YouTube friends, this is Fossilsaurus coming at you with something that may not look super impressive, but what it is I think is very cool. Now it is just a tooth. Let me explain something first. These little cases, so cool little things. It's very hard to see what they are because as it turns out they go bad pretty quickly. They totally flexible and very flexible in a way that you can display something in there and it just bulges out around the item. It doesn't like completely bulge out like that, letting it move around. Like it won't slide around or anything like that. You can't even push it around. But now this was not even sitting in the light, but you can see it gets very opaque. And on this side, it just, I mean, some of that is a little bit of dirtiness, but it just yellows out. And like I said, this was not even in the light. So, whoops. Very cool idea. Very cool for a short period of time. Sadly, not very cool a long period of time because they're very good displays. Or could be. Now this, let me get you down closer. Well, pull back a little bit. See, my hands don't block everything. Alright, there we go. Normal looking tooth, right? Nothing special. A little bit of chip. Tip is gone. I normally wouldn't get something quite like this. Except for what it is. This is actually a Suchomimus tooth, which is very awesome. It's actually a very good looking tooth compared to some of the ones that you can get. Suchomimus are relatively rare to find and people love them, so they sell pretty high in most cases, unless like me you occasionally happen to get very lucky. People will pay good money for pieces that are just like this, broken off half of it. When I say good money, I don't mean hundreds of dollars. I mean a good big one like that in good shape could easily be hundreds of dollars. This one was well under $100. That may be the only time I give you kind of a price idea. I really don't like that idea. It just seems weird giving out that kind of information. I mean, if you personally want to know, feel free to comment and I will give you information personally. But again, not a super impressive looking piece, but what it is makes up for it. Now, most of you probably have heard of Suchomimus and may know something about it. Especially with the whole Jurassic Park, Jurassic World craze, with the Spinosaurus in there. They are Spinosaurids, so they are somewhat related to Spinosaurus. Not more than somewhat. They are definitely related somewhat closely. Now, Baryonyx is another Spinosaurid that is fairly well known. It was actually in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It was the one that came down through like the tunnel and attacked Claire and that other guy, and they had to climb up out of that room where the lava was falling. That was a Baryonyx. Suchomimus are very similar, a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, and the head shape is a little bit different. The snout is elongated, because like Spinosaurus, it is much more adapted to fishing and eating out of rivers and stuff like that. Baryonyx, of course, will do that too, but their snouts are a little bit less evolved for that, so they seem to be a little bit more towards hunting. All Spinosaurids have the long, thin snouts, so they may all be adapted for fishing, but the less elongated they are, the more they might be towards terrestrial hunting. Things like the Spinosaurus, even though they have a very long, thin snout made for fishing, they're just so big that, I mean, they could just eat up terrestrial animals anyway. Like, they don't have to be evolved for that. Now these guys got around 35 feet, little tiny bit bigger. Now that's the maximum we know of them getting. So of course they got bigger, just like everything gets bigger than the maximum we know it of. So it's significantly smaller than the Spinosaurus, a little bit bigger than the Baryonyx, which is a very close relative. There is a significant, like I said, there's a significant difference in the skull shape, the snout shape from Baryonyx. Suchomimus has a much closer snout to Spinosaurus than Baryonyx, and also Suchomimus has raised neural arches on the spine, which is the back. That's what the Spinosaurus has. That's raised up, is the neural arches. But in Suchomimus, it is so slight that if it might be visible in life, but it would be so slight that it would be barely visible. You wouldn't look at it as a fin or anything like that. You would just look at it as maybe a thin hump or something like that. I don't want to say that because that gives it like the wrong impression, like just like a meaty hump or something. Let's say Spinosaurus sail was like that. These guys' sail would be like not even like this, just on the back part or something, just slight. Now these guys had very strongly built arms. The humerus was much more strongly built than many Spinosaurids. Baryonyx also had this adaptation, but Suchomimus and the closest relatives of Suchomimus had excessively strong humeruses that were matched only by some other large theropod dinosaurs like Megalosaurus and things like that, which are much more closely related to Tyrannosaurs and stuff, but not the tiny arms. I don't want to give the impression that, like, oh, they're so strong, their arms are like those tiny little things. No. I mean, Spinosaurids in general had much beefier and longer and adapted for use arms and claws, but there were definitely still some other theropod families and genus that had significantly strong, significantly powerfully built upper arms that were very useful for hunting and grabbing. So it was impressive. And they had a particularly large thumb claw. All Spinosaurids had a very long first claw, but apparently Suchomimus and Baryonyx, but less so than Suchomimus, had very, very extended long thumb claws. Now these guys were from 125 to 112 million years ago, the early Cretaceous, so they were pretty close to the end of the Spinosaurid reign. The Spinosaurids went to about 95-ish million years ago, so I mean, these guys were less than 10 million years from the last known trace of Spinosaurids. Now that doesn't mean too much, because as we see regularly, new specimens come up and extend the period of life, the range, sometimes excessively. This would not be called the Lazarus phenomenon, because it's not like they would have gone extinct for millions of years and then pop up again. It would just be an extension of their the range of their known reign. I like that word, and it works perfectly here. So these guys were very cool. I very much doubt I'm ever going to get... I might get another tooth or some more teeth. But unfortunately, I probably will never get anything else. I've never seen anything else for sale of Suchomimus. Now, I don't have anything other than a tooth for Spinosaurus. So, since this is a close relative, I considered going into Spinosaurids in general. But my hope, and I've seen before, I've had many opportunities. Many of them just went a little bit too high, but if I knew that my opportunities were going to run out, I would have just gone for that extra money. But I have had opportunities, missed opportunities, to get amazing Spinosaurid pieces. Some were absolutely huge, like 3 or 4 feet by 2 feet, like almost an entire hip bone, which I think just... I mean, I should have bid or paid the extra couple $100 that went up above my price and just kind of irresponsibly said screw it, and then maybe sold some stuff or something to make up the difference, because I really am kicking myself now for missing out on all those opportunities. A lot of jaw fragments, just a lot of cool things that I'm very much hoping one day to get something more of, and then I will go over Spinosaurids and so on. So that's kind of like a like crossing my fingers, like one day I hope I'll have something that I can use, like so yeah, so that's why I'm not really going more into them as a whole, and why I don't have an excessive amount of information for the Suchomimus, because they're not known to nearly the degree of like the Spinosaurus and other things like that. They're not the rarest dinosaurs in the world, but they are fairly uncommon. So, and like, so there's not too much knowledge about them besides what can be inferred by their close relatives. Which is actually how a lot of Spinosaurus information is, but so yeah, there's not too much I can give you, unfortunately, about this amazing animal, and unfortunately I don't have a more impressive specimen to show you. Hobbyists might understand how impressive even just this is, but I think a lot of people will look at this as just a little kind of messed up tooth, especially if you've seen Spinosaurus teeth, which you can find some easily for sale up to like 7 inches or something, and looking like in very great shape. So to that, this looks very unimpressive, but there is a huge difference in the amount of Spinosaurus teeth found. I mean, you could probably throw a rock in the Moroccan desert and randomly hit a Spinosaurus tooth. Not actually, but I mean, my point is that they're extremely common. So yeah, that's my little guy right here. Very happy to have it. A little bit hard to display things like this, super small. Especially since those like little clamps that I showed you earlier that I brought it out in ended up being so just worthless over like relatively short period of time. So, well, thank you for watching. I know I see I'm kind of dragging this video on a little long without adding much more information to it, so I will cut it down now. Thank you very much for watching. I would really appreciate you guys leaving some likes or subscribing. Means a lot to me, but the most important thing is it means a lot to me that you're watching the videos to begin with, whether you leave anything or not. Happy to have comments, happy to have any input, hear anything from you guys. So thanks so much, and I hope to see you in my next video.